Go ahead.
I know that the service for Mooney's daughter was today. How much representation from the 49ers was there, to your knowledge?
No players or coaches could go, unfortunately. I know Lynch went out there. I don't know the exact number, but a number of our support staff. I know Austin, Pastor Earl. I got a FaceTime with Mooney yesterday. Lynch got to be at the service. I talked to him earlier today after it ended. It was a great service. He had a hell of a eulogy that he did, and he was very appreciative of everyone's support throughout all this.
Does Feliciano being questionable mean that he could be activated before the game?
He could, yeah. Probably not, but we still have some things to decide here in the next 24 hours, but it's kind of comparing to a lot of other spots.
With Christian being questionable, is that a situation where you can't list him? You have to list him as questionable.
Yeah, we'll take him off IR or whatever it is tomorrow, and then he'll be good to go. So unless something crazy happens on this plane ride, he should be good to go tomorrow once he gets off IR.
He looked like the old Christian in practice this week?
Yep, yeah, he had a good week.
This Tampa defense stacks the box against the running backs quite a bit, and you guys have faced a lot of stacked boxes this year, but you've had a lot of success against it. Why would you say that is the case?
I think the stacked boxes are, there's not as much space, but sometimes you get the most yards for teams who stack the box. I mean, when you stack the box, one person gets out of a gap and there's only one guy left, and that guy's 20 yards away, and there's two corners on the outside with receivers to block. So a stacked box sometimes gives up the most yards. And sometimes when people stay in a two shell, yeah, there's a little more space and stuff, but once you get to that 6-yard area, there's two safeties swarming in together. There's two clouds condensing everything, so there's more space to begin, but it ends. So it's tough sledding versus an 8-man box. This team causes so many negative runs, and that's why they get you in a lot of 2nd and 12s. And when you're in that position, they can make you one-dimensional and scare you out of the run, which is why it's always been tough versus Todd's stuff. He's going to try to stop the run and pick and choose when to do it, but it's always a challenge versus these guys.
See this week from Deshaun Gibson. Would he be in the mix potentially to be elevated tomorrow?
Yeah, he is in the mix, especially with Mustafa being questionable. He got a week in practice at Jacksonville. He's done awesome this week in his 3 days, and we'll discuss that with him over these next 24 hours. It's nicer being on the East Coast. We get till 4 o'clock instead of 1. But those are all things that he looks good enough to do it. Just kind of depends on the health of everyone else.
The defense hasn't changed at all with the coordinator change.
No.
Enough.
Yeah.
Sam Okwana was here at the end of last year, but I don't know, did you know much about him, and do you have any real expectations for him to contribute, like, say, in training camp?
Yeah, we did in training camp. Started kind of in OTAs, just why, I didn't really know much about him at the end of last year, him getting here so late and stuff. But I knew everyone liked him, and then watching him in OTA, phase 1, phase 2 OTAs, just us watching how he moved and stuff, an individual, we were excited about him. And then he had an unbelievable training camp. On training camp, he was one of the best players out on the practice field, and we were real excited about him. And then he pulled his hamstring, so I think it was his hamstring. So he missed a number of weeks and didn't really get to do it as much in the games, and kind of went a little under the radar there. But his first 10 days or whatever, he was a problem in camp.
Mentioned when he was on the practice squad at the end of the year, he wasn't really into giving good looks and getting practice squad player of the week. He wanted to be disruptive and piss people off. He said he may have succeeded in doing that, was getting you pissed off a few times. Is this accurate?
Definitely, but both ways. There's a fine line with scout team. Like, I want guys to compete. I want them to get better. I also want them to get our guys ready to play. And the way you do that is by competing. You don't sit there and brother-in-law with people and just say, hey, let's just kind of do this, make coach happy. Like, that doesn't get someone to compete, or it doesn't get someone ready for Sunday. But also, you can't just go wreak havoc every single play and do stuff that they're not going to see in the game just to get noticed. So there's a fine line with that, and he is such a violent guy, and you can't cut and stuff in practice. So, when you have guys just teeing off on people and there's no threat to cut, that's one of the most unfair things in football, because you just got to stand up and take it. That's why I always believe in cutting, not so because you do it, because if people know that you can cut someone, then they can't just go reckless kamikaze right at you and just run you over. And he knows we can't do that in practice, so he did that a couple too many times to our backs and stuff, and that's when I got bothered by him. But I also got pumped up because half the time people were complaining about him. I got on the guys complaining about him because if they wanted to do something, block them. So there's a fine line in both, but he was a stud on practice squad. He just kind of had to learn how to totally do it.
Did Moody make about the progress you expected from when he had his sprained ankle?
More than it. I mean, I have a lot of experience with high ankle sprains, and they're one of the most aggravating, annoying injuries that a player can get. I didn't have any experience with a kicker getting it, especially on his kicking foot, so I just assumed that would be IR and stuff, and especially on his kicking foot, but I was kind of surprised. He said it would be worse on his plant foot, just me not understanding truly how to kick. So I was surprised he came back by now, but he's looked great this week, and it's been awesome to have him back, and should be good to go here on Sunday.
Been able to see much from Khalil Davis, the new guy, and how important is it to just have a large rotation of defensive linemen with that heat?
It is important, definitely. With the heat especially, I think it's always important, just the style that we play. We like 8 guys up. We'd always like to get 9 guys up. You just can't always. And we've had guys banged up this year, starting with Hargrave, losing for the year, not having Kevin this week. Clea coming back late. It's going to really be tough with Khalil Davis and Clea Davis for me. But no, we need more depth just with the injuries, and the more the merrier, and we were pumped to be able to get him here, and he's fitting very well this week.
Familiarity with Houston's coaching staff, something that helped get that across the finish line there at the last minute?
I mean, I think that'd be more of a question for John. I don't totally think so. I mean, I know all 32 teams discuss any possibilities in every single player, and he was a possibility, and we look into everything, and I'm sure they floated that out to other teams too. But when you're getting a player that you don't know, and you have guys that do know him, that you trust, and also that scheme-wise you can see him do stuff, so you don't have to just imagine if he could do it. You can see him do it a little bit, and having guys like Malik and stuff on our own team who could vouch for him, that stuff made it a lot easier for us to pull the trigger.
Was Bosa able to do this week, and are you at all concerned about him on Sunday?
I am to a degree. He wasn't able to do a lot. I mean, he definitely was extremely limited. Hoping he'll be all right, but we'll see on Sunday.
Fever going into the bye?
No, just banged into somebody, got a little hip pointer, and just bothered him. I think it was real early in Wednesday's practice.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thanks.